everyone and welcome to this POV review by AutoTopNL. My name is Max and, well, a Ford Mustang today. And we have the 2.3 liter EcoBoost, the European version. Unfortunately, or not. That's what we're going to find out today. Is this a real alternative to the V8 Mustang? And, well, I have to say, to start, it looks incredible. We have sort of a cherry red with 19-inch wheels, a black top, and a beige tan with black leather interior. I think it looks great. Also with the top up, I think they did a great job. The roofline is really nice. It's quite low. And that quintessential Mustang rear end is lovely as always. I mean, those three lights on each side, the Mustang pony in the center, the exhaust, the diffuser with those reversing lights, and the rear fog light. I mean, it's a good looking car, especially in this spec. I actually really like it. So let's open it up. So old school with that brace, and this actually goes really quickly. So this is any traffic light, and the top can go down, and now it's open. And because they used this sort of simple roof construction, so nothing like the entire back coming up or this coming out or whatever, that's why it's so fast, and that's also why you get some pretty decent boot space for a convertible. I mean, this is with the top down, and we can fit our huge trunk in there. There's some more room behind it, but because this is too high, I can't put it further back, but there's some decent room. A subwoofer in here, and well, this is a lot of car for the money. I mean, I know in the US this is sort of a cheap car. It's a pony car, enough power for not that much money. But unfortunately, because we have the CO2 dependent taxing in the Netherlands, this is actually half the price of a V8 Mustang. So this starts at around 57 for an EcoBoost manual coupe, and this is 62 for the convertible with a manual. And because we have an automatic today, that's 84,000 euros, because it puts out more CO2. And the V8 starts at around 120,000 euros. So I think if you're real and if you're realistic, the EcoBoost is the car to have here. But can it convince me that this 4-cylinder is nearly as good as the V8? Well, let's find out. And with that startup, let me just do that again. You're in a Mustang, okay? So you're sitting here, you have those dials, ground speed, Mustang stuff, Mustang here, and you start it up. Yeah, it sounds like a rental Fiesta. So not off to a great start, and that automatic gearbox isn't great either, but I'll tell you some more about that later. So let's go. Well, while I'm here, let me just show you something. We have this track app which has an acceleration timer from 0 to 100 kph, so that's 0 to 62 miles an hour. Let's put it in sport. We have the switches here, one of which is the driving mode, so we flick that up to circuit, so track. And okay, so accelerating is starting. Let's try this. Oh, test was cancelled. Well, off to a great start then. I'll try that again later. But it's cool that it's there. I mean, I quite like that. So, the Mustang EcoBoost, as I said, a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder engine with 317 horsepower and 434 newton meters of torque, which is quite nice. I think that's acceptable for this car, were it not that it weighs 1620 kilograms. And I mean, that's quite heavy. It's about 70 kilos heavier than the coupe. So, I mean, you don't really feel like it has 317 horsepower when you give it some throttle. It's not very convincing. And it feels a bit I don't want to say underpowered, because it's really not. It's fast enough. It's brisk, but it's just not very impressive, and that's a shame, because you have this car which looks incredible. I'll just switch to sport mode for now, because that throttle response is really like I'm in mud. Okay, Sport Plus. Gearbox in sport. It looks like a true Mustang, and as I said, when you start it up, that's when the first problem happens, because you just don't match the sound of the startup with this car, because it looks incredible and it looks just like a V8. And the only thing is that a V8 Mustang, the GT, has that GT badge on the back. So something in my brain is telling me this is not right. And again, when I'm driving, that sound from that engine, it's not very impressive. The exhaust doesn't really make a sound. It feels a bit heavy. I also have pedal shifters behind the steering wheel, so I'll shift back to third, second, and I'll give it some throttle, and I'll shift. I'm shifting now. Now, that's a second or something of delay. So that's my review on this automatic gearbox. It's lethargic, it's really old. I think it feels old, so I'm going to try to review this car now as a manual, because I know the manual V8 is a great car. We drove it. I know that manual gearbox is really nice. So let's judge this car on the things I know are great and I would get. So now we have that out of the way. Let's start with the good things. Like I said, it looks incredible, especially in this spec, that cherry red with this tan leather, those 19-inch wheels, which are optional. One of the few options actually, because pretty much everything is standard on this car. That's another perk. I think the only options on this car are an extended navigation audio pack, and the seats are heated and ventilated, which cost practically nothing. Those 19-inch wheels, and that's about it. So that's seriously great value for money if you get the manual. Another thing is that you get a lot of car for your money. I mean, this is a big car. I know in the US it won't stand out at all, but in Europe, or at least in the Netherlands, this is quite a large car, and it's long, it's wide, it's spacious in here. You can actually fit some people in the back, which is quite rare. And well, driving wise, it's a Mustang. It's a bit wobbly, it leans in the corners, but you have to look at this as a GT car. I mean, it's not a track car. So let's try that acceleration again. Acceleration timer. Put this in circuit. 0 to 100 automatically. Okay. Okay, that's 6.7 seconds to 100 kph. I know the manual gearbox does 5.8 and this wasn't an optimal start. So I think 6.3, something like that, should be manageable, which isn't bad at all. So what other options do you have if you're thinking about buying this car? Well, within Ford, obviously there's the Ford Focus RS, which is about the same price as 350 horsepower, that trick suspension setup, four-wheel drive, great exhaust, but it doesn't really have that presence that this car has, and that's the case with any competitors you can buy here. So for instance, price wise, you would be looking at a 420i or a C200 convertible or coupe, whatever, and you know, then you're stuck with quite a boring car, which your neighbor also has. I think that's the best thing this car brings to the table. It's just that presence and that feeling you get when you walk up to this car, because it is an impressive car. That front end is absolutely perfect, I think. Those lights, the grille, that rear is beautiful. So before driving this car, I thought, well, isn't Ford making a mistake by putting this 4-cylinder in a Mustang? I mean, I understand why they did it, but isn't it a mistake? Because it's never going to be as legendary as a V8 Mustang. The V6 Mustang, however, also was really bad. I mean, that engine was super lazy, and I think this is actually quicker, especially in the low end, than that V6 Mustang. So to answer the question, no, I don't think they made a mistake. I think especially here in Europe, this car makes sense. I think with that lighter 4-cylinder engine up there, it handles better because you don't have that heavy V8 in the front. The only thing is, because this is quite wide and the turning circle is quite large, it's not the most easy car to handle. So let me show you guys that engine, because I'm talking all about that engine, but I'm not showing you anything. So there it is. Ugh. So as you can see, this car was built for a V8. Look at all that real estate up here and down there. There's a lot of space. But as I said, I mean, this does mean that there's a lot less weight up here, which is much better for the handling. And you probably know that there are a lot of videos of this car leaving at car meets, crashing, the V8 of course. And I mean, it has quite a tricky rear end, it has a lot of torque, and it has 2-star rating from the crash stuff here in Europe, which didn't happen for around 10 years until this car came. So I think because that engine is so much lighter, it handles better, and it has less power on that rear axle, I think this would actually be a safer choice. So But what it mainly is a really cool and original alternative to something like a BMW 4 Series, a Mercedes C-Class, or an Audi A5. And I think more people should go for cars like this. I mean, this is such a cool car. Please get it in this spec. And if you can, get a V8. But it's not bad to drive this EcoBoost version. So I'm really torn now, because yes, this car needs V8, but it's so much more expensive here. So what are you supposed to do? I don't know. A 4-cylinder in a Mustang is a bit like blasphemy, but it does make sense, and I think that's the only conclusion. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can subscribe by clicking on the little icon in the bottom right corner. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for AutoTopNL, and I hope to see you at the next POV review. Thanks, bye.